Here are 5 situations criminal defence lawyers must stop acting for a client at the police station. 1. If the client tells me in private consultation they intend to give false answers to police questions in the police interview under caution, I must cease to act unless they reassure and tell me they will not make false statements to the police. So, for example, if they say they committed the murder in private consultation with me, but say they will tell the interviewing police officer falsely they were not present at the scene of the murder, I must cease to act. 2. If my client tells me in private consultation they gave the police a false name and date of birth when they were being booked in at the police station following their arrest and prior to my arrival, and they tell me they will persist and continue to provide this false name and date of birth to the police officers in the police interview under caution, I must stop acting for the client and must leave the police station. However, if they reassure and tell me they will give their correct name and date of birth to the police following our private consultation, I can continue to act. 3. If the client tells me in private consultation they committed the crime to which they are arrested for, but will say no comment to all the police questions in the police interview under caution, then I can continue to act for the client. This is because acting for a client when they will say no comment to police questions does not involve my client providing misleading information to the police or me being complicit in any misleading information being given to the police. For example, if my client tells me they committed the murder but will say no comment to all the police questions, I can continue to act. However, if knowing my client's instructions, I feel I can no longer act in my client's best interest, e.g. because I'm now becoming unwell or distressed about what I have heard, then I must cease to act and leave the police station. 4. If my client tells me in private consultation they did not commit the crime to which they have been arrested for and instead provide me with a defence to the allegation, but I suspect the client is guilty and the defence is fabricated, but the client maintains they are innocent and their defence truthful and wants to answer police questions in the police interview under caution to assert their innocence and provide that defence, I can continue to act. However, if I have concerns the client is attempting to mislead the police and I believe I risk being complicit in misleading the police, I must cease to act and leave the police station. For example, if my client tells me they did not commit the murder because they were asleep at home and they have an alibi, despite there is CCTV footage showing clearly them at the scene at the time of the murder, and they have asked me to speak to the alibi witness before the police do, and I have concerns that I will be complicit in misleading the police, I must cease to act. More said about this scenario in future posts. And 5. If my client tells me in private consultation they did not commit the crime to which they have been arrested for, but will falsely admit to committing the crime in the police interview under caution, then I must cease to act and leave the police station. For example, if my client tells me they did not commit the murder but will admit to the crime to protect a family member, I must cease to act. In situations where there is a decision made by a defence lawyer to stop acting for a client and a police officer asks why, the defence lawyer must not give a reason for the decision unless the client gives specific instructions otherwise. Defence lawyers should not even say to the police, for professional reasons, I can no longer act for the client, because that, in my view, is too much information and is not necessary. It is better to simply say to the officer, Officer, I'm no longer acting and I'm now leaving the police station. Now, if you think about it, there are 7 principles for a criminal defence lawyer at the police station to follow and honour when faced with situations where ethical dilemmas arise. 1. They must sincerely believe everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. 2. They must truly believe a person is not obliged to incriminate themselves. And yes, there may be some limited exceptions. 3. Generally, they must act and believe they are acting in the best interest of the client. 4. If they cannot act in the best interest of the client for whatever reason, they must cease and stop acting. 5. They must not mislead or attempt to mislead the court or others, and that includes the police. If such situations arise, they must cease to act. 6. If a client attempts to put them in a compromising situation, they must cease to act. And 7. They must keep any conversation with the client confidential unless they give the lawyer specific instructions to disclose information to the police. And yes, there are some limited exceptions to that. Feel free to comment, follow, like and share.